train and you're not going to have gains and you're not going to look good. But look at how good
some of these guys look. Yeah,
a lot of these athletes look amazing. And I understand like they're surviving it and they're adapting to it, and there's a bunch of things going on. But I would have never thought it was possible to even train like that.
One of our charters, one of the big things that we preach is mechanics, consistency, and then intensity. And a lot of people, especially the critics who watch us and see what we're doing, don't hear or don't see the mechanics and consistency, and they just see the intensity. And what we mean by that is, with the mechanics and consistency, you got to learn the movements. You got to learn how to do them correctly, and you got to do them correctly for a good amount of time before you add intensity. So when you see guys out there, you know, clean and jerking 135 30 times, and they're just throwing it around, they have a foundation. I'd hope so. Or oftentimes they've had a foundation to get to that point. And that's the best application of CrossFit, is a slow dosing of it. We need to build people up before you see them doing some of those things. And it's different for everybody. Some people their path to getting to that intensity stage might be a few weeks because of their background. Others, it might be months before they can do stuff like everyone else. And it just depends on the individual. And the great part about it is the workouts, everyone can do them. So we take that run example, that run, the pull up and deadlift. If I was going to do it, I'd probably, let's say it was going to be 15 reps, I'd use 185, and maybe we do 15 pull-ups. And maybe for, you know, an older gentleman or an older lady, she's not going to do pull-ups. Maybe she'll just do some standing pulls over the bar, and she deadlifts just the barbell, and she runs 200 meters. So the stimulus is the same, and we scale and we change the weights to keep everybody involved and make it entirely inclusive. And then if Matt Frazier was going to do it with me, he'd be deadlifting 315 pounds and he'd be doing 30 pull-ups, you know?
And that's another side of it that people are missing too, is like someone like Matt Frazier, who let's say he's not able to do a 700-pound deadlift. He's still going to crush someone who's really strong, someone who's really proficient at deadlifting as soon as you start mixing in
exactly.
start mixing in other things, and then it's a variable that most people aren't ready for.
Yep.
I think also what you said, honestly, it's like I remember back in 2015, 2016, when a lot of YouTube, maybe even 14, when YouTube was like kind of going after CrossFit, you'd see people showing videos of CrossFitters like doing, you know, bad movements. But I feel like personal responsibility is not factored in there. Like they say, oh, this person doing this movement, this is what CrossFit is. Whereas when you see a powerlifter doing a really crappy squat, a really high squat, not to depth, or just really bad form, we don't say that's powerlifting. We say that's a bad powerlifter. But instead, we were always like, oh, that's not a bad CrossFitter, that's just CrossFit. And I don't know how exactly we came upon that, but that's what happened.
I think a lot of people were just upset that we were becoming so popular and so many people were doing CrossFit that, you know, a lot of the old guard in fitness. Now, I'm not pointing to you, but I'm not saying you're the old guard. But I mean, I'm looking at you like, yeah.
No, I agree. Like I've heard it all, and I understand it all, and I, you know, as I mentioned earlier, when I first saw it, I was like, this is kind of crazy. Like, what's going on? But then immediately I was like, wait a second. There's more people like weightlifting. There's more people powerlifting. Why in the hell would I ever be upset about that? This seems great.
Well, yeah, some old school weightlifters and some old school powerlifters weren't exactly happy what we were doing with their movements and how we were exposing it to the masses. And a lot of them became vocal. And some I would say joined us and grew with us, and others chose not to and chose to go in their own direction. And that's fine. But we weren't doing anything to hurt what they're doing. We're just supporting all human movement, essentially, exposing it to more people than they would have without us.